Good evening. We're coming on the air with another horrific and historic moment in America. The FBI says there has been another possible attempt on former President Trump's life. Mr. Trump is safe and was not harmed. But law enforcement sources say that while the former president was golfing at one of his courses in Florida, the Secret Service fired in the direction of a person with an AR-style rifle.
They're having trouble figuring out what the motive might have been. They think maybe it's something other than the Trump hatred that they've whipped up, but it's not. That's what it is. It's the Trump hatred and it's the second in just over 2 months. And the news media, they are playing the role of the news media once again. I'm beginning to think that our news media shouldn't be trusted. Have you gotten that impression? And it's quite remarkable. On MSDNC this morning, they're like, well, let's talk about all the violent threats against all politicians across the country, especially Democrats. And, they turn these into one-day stories. If President Trump is targeted by an assassin, the bullet grazes his head, and clips his ear, and blood flows down, then that's a one-day story. Congressman Steve Scalise on a baseball field in Alexandria, Virginia, preparing for the big annual congressional baseball game, Democrats versus Republicans, when a Bernie Sanders volunteer shows up. He had a Chinese combat-style assault rifle, and he shot and nearly killed Congressman Steve Scalise. One-day story. No anchor men and anchor women with satellite trucks outside the hospital for that. That's just kind of a shrug it off and move on. And, oh, yeah, Trump had a mean tweet, and therefore it's our news media, the most corrupt institution in America. And they're wrestling. You know how they love to wrestle, usually underage wrestling, but they love to wrestle with big concepts. You know, they're big thinkers, these people. And big things like, gosh, what could his motive have been? I can't imagine. Just like Crooks in Pennsylvania. We still don't know what his motive was. And fortunately, some great Americans grabbed a bunch of his social media stuff before the government wiped it out with their allies at Facebook. You know, the mega donor, Mark Zuckerberg, centibillionaire. It's good to be a Democrat, isn't it? And remarkable stuff. But a couple of regular people now recognizing that our crooked government will come in and erase everything. A couple of people grabbed the stuff, and it's good. Worked out pretty well because it's been preserved, and now we can all see it. Remarkable things going on, indeed. Boy, oh boy, the madness is everywhere. Yesterday, President Trump golfing West Palm Beach, Florida, at another golf course and club with his name on it, the Trump International Golf Club. And he's golfing, minding his own business, sweet as you please, when a Democrat went slithering up like a salamander to the fence line where there are lots of hedges and green leafy things, what being Florida and everything like that. Remarkable stuff. And he slithered up with his AK, Russian style, Soviet style, not AR, American style rifle. But the Democrats, they don't know the difference. AR, AK, what's the difference? They don't know. And they honestly don't know. And you could teach them all day long, and tomorrow they'd forget because remarkable stuff. So that's obviously the big story that we're dealing with today. A remarkable story, a second assassination attempt. And the news media is saying, apparent. It might have been an assassination attempt. Well, with the guy with the rifle slithering up to the fence line and taking cover in the bushes and sticking the pointy end of the barrel through the chain link fence. And he's got two backpacks with ceramic plates that you might use for body armor if you're in a gunfight and you're getting pinged with bullets. It's a remarkable thing. It really is. Now, the Washington Post, for their part, their lead story, they're on the front page, upper right-hand corner of their ace sectional, is Trump targeted on golf course in Florida, police say. But you can't believe the police, but that's what the police say. Possible second assassination attempt. Possible. Might have just been grouse hunting with an AK-47 on the Trump International Golf Club on the golf course there, and gotten into the bushes and put the barrel of his rifle through the chain link fence. Maybe he was just doing something more benign. Maybe it's not what you see here. And the guy is a complete wackadoodle. If you've seen him, the still picture of him in the back of the police car yesterday in handcuffs, you can see that he's a mental case in the still photo, as is the case with so many Democrats, I think is what I'm looking for. And they claim that he actually supported President Trump in 2016. But, you know, you have this snake thing that the left engages in where they, like Crooks in Pennsylvania, he registered as the guy who did shoot President Trump in the ear before being shot in the face by a Secret Service countersniper. But he had registered as a Republican. And what the news media likes to leave out of that is that the Democrat Party was on a jag. They were on a jag at that time, trying to get Democrats to register as Republicans and go vote in the Republican primaries to corrupt our democracy, because that's what the filthies do. That's what the filthies do all the time. Find new and interesting ways to corrupt our democracy. While they're claiming that they're protecting and defending and saving our democracy, they're actually dismantling everything that we've always known as our constitutional republic with our democratic principles. And the Democrats, they are not on our side. I don't know if you've been watching this, but they're definitely not on our side. I'm telling you. And also, all of this kind of had a comparatively, relatively happy ending yesterday, because a man nearby, just a citizen, a normal person, an American living in West Palm, or at least he was there in West Palm Beach, Florida, and he heard the gunfire because a Secret Service agent patrolling the perimeter of the golf course spotted Creepy Boy, the Democrat, poking the end of his rifle barrel through the chain link fence. And he said, "What the heck?" I'm paraphrasing. I don't know what he actually said, but he might have said something like, "What the heck?" And he pulled out his service pistol. And I believe he just had his pistol. I have no reason to believe that he had a rifle, but it's not out of the question because they haven't been terribly forthcoming with lots of information yet. But they've been a little better maybe than the last time around, and we'll have to wait and see because now the FBI is involved, so they might squirrel away their findings for several decades and then redact it and put it out on a Friday at 6 p.m. But we'll have to see about that going forward. Now, the Secret Service agent, I believe it's an agent, might have been a Secret Service officer, but firearm and shot at the would-be assassin, the would-be perpetrator, and still a perp because he committed crimes. But shots fired, and then Creepy Boy, the Democrat, got up, and he's a weird one. He was in Ukraine and trying to recruit people to fight in Ukraine, and he's got he's very aroused about the whole Russia thing. He apparently doesn't like Russia, and he was trying to recruit Afghan nationals that have been fighting in the war in Afghanistan to come to Ukraine and fight for Ukraine, trying to recruit American and other combat vets who had been in war, been at war in Afghanistan and Iraq to come to Ukraine and to fight against the Russians. And that's the whole thing is pretty weird. Again, there's a claim that he supported Trump in 2016. If he did, who knows what his thinking was, because he's a head case, obviously, would-be assassin. I think that's pretty conclusive evidence that you're a nutcase. But, and again, keeping in mind, I think I didn't finish Crooks in Pennsylvania. He registered as a Republican, but the Democrats were engaged in this effort to get people to vote in the Republican primaries, to vote for the worst candidate, because the Democrats think that sort of thing is cute, and they like war in Europe, and they like war in the Middle East, and they like the war machine and the military-industrial complex because they're the party of the military-industrial complex. I know that's one of the many characteristics of the Democrat Party, honestly. So we've got a lot. We've got that, and there's a lot to be said about that, and a great deal of it. We've got federal law enforcement, the Secret Service, and the FBI now, lead dog on the investigation. And then we have the news media, which can barely bring themselves to, where is it? My friend Tom in Florida sent me kind of a fun one this morning. They have a USA Today paper down in Florida. And my friend Tom gets the USA Today paper. And the story on yesterday, not too far from Palm Beach, and the story in the Florida Today, the USA Today paper, the headline is they have an aerial picture of the golf course. And report, : I love their colons. Trump safe after gunfight near Florida golf club. Now, gunfight, I'm not sure that qualifies as a gunfight necessarily, but Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump was safe after multiple shots were fired near his golf course in West Palm Beach, Florida on Sunday, according to two sources briefed on the incident. You know, you could just watch the press conference. You don't have to, pretend like you got some secret inside information. It was on television. You could just turn it on, and you had the Florida sheriffs and you had the Secret Service and you had the FBI. You don't need secret sources to tell you when there's a press conference on television, not to correct your journalism here. The shots originated outside the fence line. I think that's wrong. I don't think that the shots originated outside the fence line. But why would they get it right? The shots originated outside the fence line of the course, the sources said. I believe that the agent was inside the fence line, patrolling the perimeter, saw the rifle barrel poking through, and fired shots because he thought that the person might open fire. And so we got that going. Trump's campaign had earlier said he was safe following gunshots in the vicinity, but gave no details. Those were all the details they had. The Secret Service said it was investigating the incident. That's good to hear. Which occurred shortly before 2 p.m. I'd hate to think that, they'd go on a lunch break or something after that. Trump was injured in an assassination attempt in Pennsylvania on July 13th, raising questions about protection for candidates. Not for Trump, just for candidates more broadly. Just months ahead of what looks likely to be a highly contested November 5th election, in which he will face off with Democrat Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, one of the things that I want to point out here, because my friend Tom sent me this is the story in Florida Today, a USA Today paper. And here's the kind of funny thing about this. This article was not in the A section. It was not on the front page in Florida Today, not on the front page. In fact, it's not in the A section. It is in the B section of the paper, Florida Today, but it's not on the front page of the B section. It's on the last page, the back page of the B section of Florida Today, the USA Today paper in Florida. And isn't that amazing? You have the whole front page and the story. This is a Florida paper, and this happened in Florida. And he's former president. He's presidential candidate for one of our two major political parties. But at USA Today, their subsidiary in Florida, and so, well, that's not a front page story. That's not even an A section story. Okay, B section it is. Front page B section? No, not the front page of the B section. Page 2, page 3, when you open it up? No, last page B section. These people are not journalists. They're not journalists at all. Pretty amazing stuff. Yes, sir. Yeah, and CNN is calling it an apparent attempt. They don't want to leap to any conclusions here. Don't want to rush to judgment. Amazing stuff. Would-be Trump assassin Ryan Ruth, 58 years old, living in Hawaii, but he made his way to Florida because maybe he wanted to consider the possibility of becoming a would-be assassin. Our news media is the most corrupt institution in America. Ryan Ruth's son has come forward. Says, well, he doesn't like Trump, but he's not a violent person. Yeah, well, neither was Lee Harvey Oswald until one day in November. Neither was John Hinckley. The Democrat Party is a threat to our democracy and to peace and prosperity. And when I say peace, I mean anything this side of all-out war in the United States of America. The left is here, ladies and gentlemen. They're not liberals. Okay, we're going to get you all caught up on everything that's going on this crazy country of ours because of the left, which is the Democrat Party, and they're violent. And then our media, which is mental. Right now, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Teresa, calling from West by Gosh, Virginia. Teresa, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hello, Chris. How are you this morning?
Couldn't be better. Couldn't be happier.
So I got to tell you, I was so appalled by what happened over the weekend that I decided to call my old Congressman, Jamie Raskin's office this morning.
Uh-huh.
And I said, will you make a commitment, given what just happened, to tamp down the rhetoric? And the lady who answered was quite annoyed with me and said, I have to refer you to the House Ethics Committee. This is an ethical issue. Would you like the campaign phone number? Couldn't talk to me about it. Wouldn't make an agreement, to tamp down the rhetoric. And Raskin, of course, is saying that, if Trump is elected, we'll kick him out.
And why would they kick him out?
Why not? I mean, let's just keep the rhetoric up.
He's a threat to our democracy. He's a threat to America and everything we hold sacred. And Joe Biden said a couple of months ago it's time to tone down the rhetoric, and then he went to the Democratic National Convention and again said that President Trump is a threat to democracy. He was president for 4 years, and he was much less of a threat to democracy than, by any measure, than Joe Biden has been for the last 3.5+ years. And then Barack Obama was for 8 years by a long, long shot. And I remember the days of no war in Europe and no war in the Middle East, and we controlled our borders, and Venezuelan gang members weren't dragging women down the streets of New York and invading homes outside of Detroit and killing women all across the country. But the Democrats have a funny idea of what a peaceful and prosperous country looks like, don't they, Teresa?
It's just crazy. And, every time Kamala, whatever, opens her mouth, as a professional female, I'm aghast. I'm so embarrassed. She is giving women a horrible name everywhere. I mean, at least with Hillary, she's a very bright lady, evil, but bright. But Kamala, just embarrassing.
Yeah, evil but stupid. It's it's a potent combination, particularly if you're going to become the most powerful person in the world. Thank you, Teresa. All right, so you know what happened yesterday. I know what happened yesterday. We all know what happened yesterday. CNN doesn't know what happened yesterday. Our news media doesn't know what happened yesterday. I'm starting to think that our news media is not honest. That's what I'm starting to think. What do you think about that? Do you think that's possible? I think it's possible that we've got thousands of people that call themselves journalists who aren't looking for the truth at all. And that's really a big problem. That's a huge problem. Did you see you remember Alexander Vindman? Alexander Vindman. He's a Ukrainian American who joined the U.S. Army, just has an urge to bayonet people, I think. And he's the guy that betrayed President Trump, and that treasonous, traitorous, that should have been court-martialed for what he did with President Trump was on a phone call with the Ukrainian president and asking him about Biden family corruption. And now we know that there is Biden family corruption, millions of dollars out of Ukraine, and President Trump was impeached for making a phone call on Biden family corruption. Isn't that amazing? And now the creepy, oleaginous, somewhat corpulent Vindman family is in the news again because Alexander Vindman's brother is running for Congress in Virginia, in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I believe it's the 7th district where he's running for the U.S. House of Representatives. And if he wins, we might as well put Putin in there. Might as well have Putin be the head of the Senate because the Democrats are in bed and writhing around with all the wrong people. Just amazing stuff. And why is it that Ukraine keeps popping up and the word Ukraine keeps popping up everywhere the Democrats show up? How can that be? But the wife of Trump Ukraine impeachment conspirator Alexander Vindman gets obliterated after issuing disgusting tweet mocking second Trump assassination attempt. And these little fascists are everywhere. They think they're liberals. They call themselves liberals. Reminds me of the Ronald Reagan soundbite that we played last week. Ronald Reagan, who so wisely predicted many decades ago that should fascism ever rise in the United States of America, it would rise in the name of liberalism. And what we have today is a gang of people that say they identify as liberals, but they don't even know what gender they are.
If fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism. And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation. Well, isn't this the liberal philosophy?
It most certainly is, and more now than ever before. And, Mussolini, of course, about fascism being corporatism, melding a marriage of corporate and government power, and we see that all over the place, don't we? Yes, we do. Remarkable stuff. But this Vindman family, I think, maybe should be deported just to Mexico or something. I thought it'd be, back to Ukraine might be too much for them, but amazing stuff because this wife posted, and there's a picture of Rachel Vindman, the wife of the witness, Alexander Vindman, and Alexander Vindman's brother, they're twin brothers, running for the House of Representatives. And this, I think it would be fair to say, kind of a psychopathic woman, Rachel Vindman, posted right after we heard that President Trump, there were shots fired at the golf course where President Trump was golfing by the Secret Service, apparently, and in the early reports. And she immediately tweeted, then we heard, well, he's okay. And at first, the bad guy was on the run. The Democrats don't consider him the bad guy because so many of them are bad guys. But Rachel Vindman tweeted, she won't be banned for it in any way. No ears were harmed. President Trump shot in the ear by crooks in Pennsylvania. Carry on with your Sunday afternoon. Now, Deutschland über alles, B-word, honestly. I don't want to get all hip-hop on it, but can say the actual word. But this woman should be deported, and I think she's born in America, but she should probably be maybe catapulted into the ocean. Good stuff. Unsurprisingly, her post generated a massive uproar, as you would hope, I guess, with each user obliterating her. Some of the posts were so vicious that they could not be posted uncensored on the Gateway Pundit, but, keep posting, you hideous scrote. Scrote, I like the use of the word scrote there. Beeping trash, you and your fat beep traitorous husband. And he is a fat beep traitorous husband, honestly. He should maybe be taken to Afghanistan and be allowed to, jump. He should jump out of the plane, not with a parachute or anything, just amazing stuff. You're a horrible human for making light of this assassination attempt on President Trump. You're a demon. Delete your account, B-word. This is what social media is for, right? This is why we like to say social media isn't. Common courtesy isn't. Common sense isn't. And this woman, who is, again, married to this partisan hack, lieutenant colonel in the United States Army, who should be stripped of his citizenship, and he should have been charged with crimes for what he did. There's a chain of command and what he did to the commander-in-chief. And then, of course, what we learned was that, as is so often the case, President Trump was 100% right about the Biden family and the money out of Ukraine and the corruption out of Ukraine. And now the Ukrainians have gotten, 100 and how many billion U.S. taxpayer dollars after just providing a few million to the Biden family coffers. That's what you call return on investment. That's ROI extraordinaire. ROIE. It's ROE. It's just amazing stuff. Man, oh man. Now, why did this happen? Because the news media, did this Democrat show up outside the golf course with a combat-style assault rifle, a Russian variant and an AK-style rifle. When the news media keeps calling it an AR, they don't know the difference. And here's the important part. They don't care. They've had decades and decades to learn, and it's not like the AR-15 and its variants haven't been in the news over the last couple of decades, but they don't learn. They really don't. But Ryan Ruth, the 58-year-old Ryan Ruth, he's the bad guy here. Now, the news media just can't figure out what his motive. We don't know. Just like crooks in Butler, Pennsylvania, they still act like they don't know what his motive was. Let's just give a little bit of a refresher on this, because I do know what his motive was, and I do know what inspired him, if that's the right word. I do know what got his panties in a bunch, and it's the Democrat Party that got his panties in a bunch, and it's about their drunken lust for power. And in order to secure their power, they're willing to say anything and do anything by any means necessary. They are the party of by any means necessary, right? Now let's go to soundbite number one, Michael, because the news media can't figure out what the motive might have been. But if you characterize a major political figure in the United States of America who was president for 4 years, and we didn't get into a war, and we didn't have Venezuelan gangs running rampant all over the country, and we didn't have 9.1% inflation, and we didn't have $5 a gallon gasoline, and we didn't have this crime wave sweeping the country, and then the FBI telling us that crime is actually down when everybody that is upright knows that that's completely false. That's a lie. But hopefully you're learning that our government lies to us all the time now. Now, what could possibly have motivated the latest Democrat, Ryan Ruth, to come out and try to assassinate, to plot and plan to assassinate President Trump? What could make a person go so crazy? Unbelievable, President Biden.
Most importantly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Trump is a threat to this nation.
That's Trump is a threat to this nation. Well, if you really believe what Joe Biden, who's president of the United States in theory, and certainly the head Democrat in charge, Mr. Weekend at Biden's, dragging his lawn chair around in the sand, he's a threat to the nation, and the crowd goes wild. Yay, they all go wild. Just like when Barack Obama said, we're 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America. And the crowd went wild. The crowd went, why would they do that? We're the most desirable, the most envied country, not only in the world today, but in the history of the world.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
And the crowd went wild. And Joe Biden says that Donald Trump is a threat to this nation, and the crowd goes wild. Hillary Clinton said you can be the best candidate and run the best campaign and still have the election stolen from you. And the crowd went wild because they love the idea of the election being stolen from you, because it means that an election can be stolen. And that's their plan because they're mentally ill. That's pretty amazing stuff. This is the Democrat Party today. I grew up in a Democrat Party household. To paraphrase Robert F. Kennedy Jr., my mother wouldn't recognize today's Democrat Party. She would find it unrecognizable. But here's Joe Biden on Univision, where he was being asked, well, gosh, you're running against President Trump. Is that a good thing?
What, in your view, constitutes the primary threat to freedom and democracy at home?
Loaded question.
Donald Trump. Seriously. Donald Trump uses phrases like you're going to eviscerate the Constitution. He's going to be a dictator on day one.
Yeah, that total misrepresentation. That was a joke. No, he never said he was going to eviscerate the Constitution. And this lion sack, this festering bag of boils that is the Democrat Party president of the United States, who lives in an iron lung in the basement of the White House and hasn't been president in earnest for years, but Barack Obama, who is a Bolshevik Alinskyite, who was mentored by a literal member of the Communist Party as a teen. Barack Obama, who made a Communist Party voter, John Brennan, the CIA director, his communist voting, he voted for Gus Hall, the perennial Communist Party candidate for president. And then when he told Barack Obama that, he said, I like the cut of your jib. I'm going to make you CIA director. And then penitentiary face Brennan tampered in our 2020 election with that letter signed by 51. And once again, consequence-free, because Democrats, love crime and criminals. They raise them. And once again here, the problem is not our guns, it's your sons. And in this case, it's another one, Ryan Ruth. Just amazing stuff. And look, if you believe, if you're dumb enough, if your brain is small enough, if your intellectual capacity is limited enough to believe what the likes of Joe Biden might tell you about anyone, then, you're dumb enough to be whipped into a frenzy where you show up with a rifle at a golf course. And again, he apparently lives in Hawaii, which is 6 time zones away from the golf course in Florida. But he showed up there with a rifle. How? He's also had a lot of trouble with the law in the past. Where did he get the rifle? How did he get the rifle? I'm guessing from a Democrat. And honestly, Kamala Harris she's apparently the Democrats' candidate for the presidency of the United States. What kind of filthy, communist, fascist rhetoric does she engage in on a regular basis?
Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy and our most fundamental freedoms. Remember the chaos, the division, the attacks that took rights and liberties from the American people. We cannot allow that to happen again.
I was downtown Washington on Donald Trump's inauguration day when Democrats were smashing out storefronts, burned stretch limo belonging to a Muslim immigrant to the United States who was trying to make his way in the world. And the Democrats took away his $130,000 limousine by burning it to the ground. There were men and women being attacked going to the inaugural balls the night before. The Democrat Party is a violent criminal enterprise, and the Democrat political leadership support that. And Ryan Ruth is just the latest example. These people, just amazing. And I've got a lot more because it is the rhetoric, make no mistake about it. It's the Democrat Party rhetoric that led to this incident yesterday. It's the Democrat Party's rhetoric of vicious, insane, unhinged demonization. He never said he'd eviscerate the Constitution, and none of these fraud, fake reporters correct him. They don't even follow the news. They don't know what was actually said. They're not smart enough to store the information and bring it up when called upon to do so. So he didn't say he's going to, and he said he's going to be a dictator on day one. It was a little joke, but you're too stupid to get the joke, Joe Biden. He should be removed from office today, and so should Kamala, for that matter. And then he's going to be a dictator, for long enough to drill, baby, drill, and secure the border, build the wall, secure the border, and make us energy independent again. But the lie is so big, as their boy Joseph Goebbels used to say, that no one would dare not believe it. It's a party of the stupid and the violent. That's their voting base.
He's promising a bloodbath if he loses, in his words. And that he'll be a dictator on day one, in his own words. By the way, this sucker means it.
Yeah. I wonder why these crazy people would go around the bend and be inspired to do such things. All right, 10 tons and tons of Democrat crazy to get to. And it's not just this, there's more as well. Is Joe Biden still president? And he's talking about black jobs. Joe Biden is talking about black jobs, but didn't Donald Trump just get raked over the coals for 3 weeks because he made reference to black jobs? It's good to be a Democrat because the acts of journalistic gratification that the news media gushes upon you, just amazing stuff. All right, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Mike in Sunshine. It sounds like a good place to be, Mike. It's called Sunshine.
Hey, Thanks so much, Chris, for taking my call. You know, there are a lot of emotionally dysregulated people liberals, I should say. I think in my 65 years, there are probably more of them than conservatives. And when you continue to call Donald Trump a blend of Mussolini, Stalin, and Hitler, a lot of those emotionally dysregulated people are going to start shooting. I think that the left believes that they're inciting their base to vote, but they know that they're inciting some of their more crazy people to possibly shoot. And that is a problem. I watched Tulsi Gabbard, I think it was yesterday or the day before. Someone asked her, you know, is this rhetoric bad? And she said 100%. It's causing these events. And if you have that soundbite, that your listening audience might be interested.
Tulsi Gabbard, yet another former Democrat, and a former Democrat member of the House of Representatives who had to leave the Democrat Party because they got so completely insane. She's also a U.S. Army officer who, unlike Tim Walz, has served in Iraq, and proudly so, and hasn't lied about it. She's a normal person. I met her once at Newsmax a while back and thought she was just wonderful, just great, couldn't have been nicer. And again, you know, can't we all just get along, as Rodney King said once? And that's about where we are. You know, it's the LAPD versus Rodney King in the United States of America. And you're absolutely right about the emotionally dysregulated Democrat Party. They have organized and unionized the mentally ill of the United States, the violently, criminally insane. They have armies of them, legions of them. And they also have legions on their bodies. But that's a different spelling.